News Talk Online is a production of Paltak.com, the largest multimedia interactive program on the internet with more than 4 million unique users. And now, News Talk Online is being syndicated as of right this second by CRN Digital Talk Radio, www.crntalk.com, to cable networks serving an additional 12 million households. That's the big news I promised you at the start of the show today. From this point on, when you participate on News Talk Online, on Paltak, millions of people across the United States of America will be hearing your voice, in addition to, of course, those of you who are joining us here on Paltak. We are so happy to be part of CRN Digital Talk Radio. Once again, their website is www.crntalk.com. You might want to go there and check to see what all of their other offerings are and get your cable system to subscribe to crntalk.com. So today, our special guest is Dr. Carl Moeller. He is president and CEO of Open Doors USA. Dr. Moeller travels the world extensively to uncover and battle persecution against Christians. 5 years ago, the United States State Department issued a report which concluded that religious repression was widespread in China and 5 other countries. Well, since then, things have gone from bad to worse. In Saudi Arabia, for example, Christians may not wear crucifixes nor carry Bibles into the country. In the Gaza, recently, very sadly, a Christian Palestinian's religious bookstore was recently firebombed and he was later murdered. A German yearbook that tracks these kinds of things claims that at least 200 million Christians are persecuted due to their faith. The yearbook says that 1 in 10 Christians worldwide suffer severe restrictions or worse, and it documents a rise in violence against Christians in, of all places, India, where I was unaware that religious intolerance was an issue. Dr. Moeller joins us on the phone. I join you, by the way, from the Gotham Comedy Club in Midtown Manhattan, where we are on location. We're at 8 o'clock Eastern Time on Paltak. For those of you who are the Paltak audience, you'll be able to see Late Net with Ray Ellen and his special guest, Artie Lang, who is Howard Stern's sidekick. So we welcome you back for that in advance. Dr. Moeller, I welcome you to News Talk Online on paltalk.com.
Well, it's sure great to be with you and your listeners, Gary.
Well, it's very good to have you with us. We have a worldwide audience, as you can well imagine, here on Paltak. So I felt that this was a good place to invite you to talk about this situation, because here in the United States, and probably those of our audience who are in other Western nations, the idea of persecution against Christians doesn't even enter their mind. They're probably not even aware that it is going on. And frankly, as I read some of the reports from Open Doors and Open Doors USA, I was shocked to learn that Christians are being persecuted around the world.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And you mentioned the figure of 200 million. You know, we really estimate that those are the ones being actively persecuted. There may be twice as many as that who are under restriction of other kinds. You know, I think it's important to remember. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think it's important to remember that, you know, wherever people are affected by religious intolerance, we as the human community, we suffer as a result of it. And I think it's really important to remember that Christians in some countries represent the leading edge of human rights, because they're a minority, maybe in the Muslim countries or in places like you mentioned where political or other religious intolerance exists. Christians bear the brunt of all of the human rights abuses of that country. I mean, in America, it's a little bit different because Christians are the majority. So there isn't the level of persecution here by any means, even though some would claim that go on in other countries. And so we're standing up for those who, in those countries around the world where religious intolerance exists, bear the greatest brunt of the price for this.
Yeah, I'm reading in the Paltak virtual auditorium, caller, one of our users, Faithful to Death for Jesus Christ, is writing, Christians beheaded by Muslims in Indonesia, brutally tortured, imprisoned, and killed in China. Is that an accurate reporting of what's going on?
It's absolutely true. It was only 2 years ago that 3 school children in Poso, state of Indonesia, on their way home from school, literally picking flowers on the path on the way home, were ambushed by Muslim extremists. And these 2 of these girls literally lost their heads, and one girl survived the attack but has a terrible scar from her front of her face all the way across the back of her neck.
Well, I got to imagine that the emotional scar, Dr. Carl Moeller, is far greater than the physical scar that little girl suffered. Seeing a friend, she was attacked, and seeing her friend beheaded right in front of her just because they were Christians.
You're absolutely right, and it is because they were Christian girls going back home, and there were many examples of Muslim on Christian violence in this area over the last few months and months preceding that. But, it's important to realize, too, that there's a level of forgiveness that only God can provide that also these Christians are exhibiting here, too. A friend of mine survived a massacre in Colombia by left-wing FARC rebels in 1998. His name is Alex, and Alex survived that attack when many of his friends were killed, and he said, without forgiveness, there is no Christian life. So how could I not forgive my attackers? And the reality for all of us is that without this kind of Christian difference, we're no better than anyone. If we call for revenge, or if we call for retaliation, then we're no better than the ones who attack us.
One of the people posting in the virtual auditorium, Derry, is suggesting that maybe we should just abolish religions, and that may be a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but we're seeing a lot of hate and violence in the name of religion in the world today, and maybe something that's not particularly new, and maybe because we have this instant communications that we're far more aware of it. But what if we just didn't have religions? Maybe we wouldn't, she suggests, maybe we wouldn't have these problems.
I think that's perhaps a fanciful wave of thought, but the reality is the human being, as we know them, have a deep desire to know God, and to know that there is a God is very important for all people. The question is, how do we respond to religious intolerance? And whether that's irreligious intolerance or atheistic intolerance or one religion against another, we have to stand up for the rights of all human beings to freely practice what they believe about God, and even if they don't believe in God. We need to have a respect for one another's belief systems. And
I agree with you completely. I agree with you completely. I'm a true believer that we should be accepting of other people's beliefs or non-beliefs. What I like about the United States and New York City, where I am right now, in particular, is that it's a very pluralistic society, and we are accepting of one another. Nobody points fingers at another individual on the subway here because he's wearing, say, a turban because he's a Sikh, or a yarmulke because he's a Jew, or wearing a cross because she is a Christian, or dressed in a burqa because one is a Muslim. We don't do that here, and to us, it's like beyond our ability sometimes to even comprehend what is going on around the world, where people are persecuted because of their religions. And that's why I wanted you, Dr. Carl Moeller, President and CEO of Open Doors USA, on the show today. And I really appreciate you coming on to help open our eyes to this. By the way, for those of you who are joining us in our new CRN audience around across the United States, watching on cable, if you want to talk to Dr. Moeller, if you go to www.paltalk, that's Paltalk,